Welcome to Bookmarks from Christian Heritage London with your host, Dr. Kenneth Brownell.
Well, this is Ken Brownell for the Bookmarks podcast, and I'm here with Alex Brito at the London Project office. Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself and about the London Project that you're involved in.
Sure. It's a pleasure to be with you, Ken. So I am Alex Brito. I was born in Brazil, came to London in 2003 as an international student, and I've been in ministry for almost 20 years now. The London Project is a new initiative here in London. It is part of the big fraternity of City to City, St. Keller's ministry. And we've got three main goals. We want to unite the church here in London. We want to strengthen the church. And we want to see the church multiplying because we know that London needs more churches. We've got 9 million people here in London and more than 8 million are far away from God. So we want to be facilitating connections, convening those connections to facilitate co-creation. Just as a brief comment on the London Project, a few days ago, we had a dinner for 400 leaders from different theological backgrounds, from different countries, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful to see some of these leaders coming together and thinking about their important role here in London. I work as a city catalyst for the London Project, but also helping to coordinate what we call our learning communities. We bring leaders from different backgrounds together to be sharing experience, to be learning with one another, to be getting some relevant and contextualized training together.
Great. And you're also pastoring a church.
That's right. Planted Mosaic Multicultural Church a few years ago, and we are in Elephant and Castle. God has been gracious to us. It's a pleasure. I love being a pastor.
Great. Good. Well, the main point of this podcast is to find out from you what book, other than the Bible, of course, has had the most impact on your life and influence on you.
Yeah, so as I said, I came in 2003 as an international student, but far away from God. And I think my parents were praying for me. My mom has been praying for me for many, many years. And when I came to London, she sent me the Pilgrim's Progress book in Portuguese. Mm-hmm. So I read John Bunyan here, and I knew the gospel, Ken. I knew the gospel in my head, but I think it was by reading the Pilgrim's Progress that I understood the gospel with my heart as well. Mm-hmm. So I read the book once, and I could see something different was happening. So I read it again, but during during the second time I was reading the book, I read it with the Bible in my right hand, mm-hmm. and I could see the gospel in a different way, and I could see the transformation in my heart. When I look at that guy running away from the city of destruction, I saw myself, mm-hmm. not that Brazil is the city of destruction, but I could see myself in his shoes. Mm-hmm. I thought, wow, that's what I need to do as well. Mm-hmm. But that also gave me a big desire to be sharing the gospel with others. So when you see him approaching people in his city saying, come with me, we need to run to the celestial city. There is a beautiful place waiting for us. And that's what I did. And as a result, I began sharing the gospel with people. I began discipling them. And after a year, I realized that we had a church plant. So I became a church planter by accident after reading the Pilgrim's Progress.
Yeah, I'm sure John Bunyan, who of course visited London often, he's from Bedford and visited here and actually died and is buried here in London.
That's right.
But he'd be amazed, I think so many years later, that book that he wrote had such an impact on someone like you. I mean, what is it about the book that transcends culture? I mean, it's in Portuguese. I know, for example, I visited Madagascar quite a lot, and the early Welsh congregational missionaries got there, they learned the language. First they translated the Bible into Malagasy, and then Pilgrim's Progress, and then there's a period of severe persecution. And in Malagasy, among Malagasy Christians today, obviously the Bible's important, but Pilgrim's Progress, it's such a different culture, and yet it still speaks. So, same with you. So why is that?
I think it's a book that it gives a picture to the gospel, and it helps us to better understand what Paul talks about sanctification in one of his letters, like Romans, for instance.
Yeah.
And when you read the Bible, when you understand the gospel and read the Pilgrim's Progress book, it gives you pictures of what it means to go through this life here, even as a believer, as a follower of Christ. So although it was written many years ago here in the UK, it can easily be translated in people's mind because it's the Bible, isn't it? That book is full of the Bible. That was one of the things that helped me to understand the gospel through a different lens. I think it reflects the Bible, and the Bible is a book that it was revealed by God, and when God speaks, human beings can understand no matter where they are from.
Good. And other than Christian and Pilgrim's Progress, any of the characters stand out for you?
I think Christian was the one that I look at. But he was my favorite. He was my favorite one. I think by the time they are getting to the celestial city, it was an impactful part for me to see that some of us will die here in order to get there. He managed to get there while he was alive, but some of us will die, and although death is tragic, it's brutal, it's painful, it's sad. When you know where you're going to, you can die with hope, and I think that was. Although your question is related to a character, I think what I love the most about that book is those different situations, different struggles that we go through as Christians on this planet.
And I think Bunyan himself, through his own suffering and both persecution, but also in family, daughter's born blind, and so many things like that. But he had all that, and he brought it all into that book, and it's so real. Okay, well, let's just move to maybe up to the present. I mean, what book are you reading right now that you might want to recommend to anyone else to read?
Well, there is a book that I'm often reading over and over again. It's a book by Tim Keller called Center Church. And as a church leader, as a church planter, it's a book that has helped me to understand places like London. So I was not brought up in London. It's a global city, a big city, a secular place, but at the same time very plural. So it's a book that helped me to keep three things very important in mind for those doing ministry in urban places. Number one, the gospel. Okay, how to bring to have the gospel in the center of our lives. Trying to run away from legalism or antinomianism, but be centered in rely on the gospel, grace, and what God has done for us through Jesus on the cross. But also having a love for the city, okay? Because as a father of three daughters, I see the challenges of being a city like London. It can be a dangerous place, depending where you are. It can be difficult, but the book helped me to actually love the city because God loves the city. So why am I going to run away from a place like London to try to find, maybe comfort somewhere else? So it gave me what I call a kind of city consciousness. Also, a passion for other church leaders. And I think that's the best. I mean, I love the part of the gospel, the city, but the part that talks about collaboration, work with other leaders. Because if you're going to spend eternity with them in the new creation, why not start working with them here? Especially because we want to see people saved. So it's a book that, although I keep reading over and over again, and it always refreshes me, always.
That's good. And you're leading a group, I believe.
That's right. So we, at the London Project, we've got a learning community. So we read parts of the book, and then we gather together to discuss what we read, but in a way that we are trying to find ways to apply it. Because most of us are London-based, we can help one another to, how can we translate this to our reality? It was a book written by Keller in New York. How can we put this into practice here? How can we use those principles here in London? So it's been encouraging. We've been learning a lot with one another.
Great. Well, thank you, Alex, for your time
Thank
and for
you.
these books you've recommended.
God
bless you and your
God
ministry.
bless you as well.
For more episodes of the Christian Heritage London podcast, and for information on Christian Heritage London events, tours and walks, please go to christianheritagelondon.org.